There is no such thing as an Enoch Calendar. If you hear anyone say Enoch Calendar, then that should be an immediate tip-off to you, I hope, that you take my word for it. It's a tip-off that they don't know much about what they're really talking about. I mean, and this is not to criticize people, but this is to try and bring clarity and to try and bring people's attention to something that needs to be looked into, and I mean, not to dirty the waters or confuse the issue, because there are so many different calendars out there. So, you may hear a lot of different groups reference Enoch, or say Enoch. For example, a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls and Zadok calendars will say Enoch, Enoch, Enoch. But Enoch and Zadok calendars are very, very different. And again, there even I go. And if you check my channel, when I started off looking into Enoch a little bit, you'll see even I was calling it Enoch Calendar. But the thing of it is, there's no such thing as an Enoch calendar. Leviticus 23 is a calendar, and there are different documents that talk about a calendar. But Enoch, the book of Enoch, the luminary section of the book of Enoch, does not present a calendar. The only thing that the luminary section of Enoch presents is some information about the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. It doesn't tell you that some holy day should be on this day or that day. It's only putting Genesis 1:14 into action. Genesis 1:14 says the lights were put into the heavens for signs, seasons, days, and years, and we don't really get much more information about the mechanics of those timepieces or how it works. We just know they're the timepieces, and so I view Enoch as potentially, if it's true, something that goes hand in hand with that instruction in Genesis. It's an elaboration of Genesis 1:14. It's like if there was a book about the Creator's times, or some kind of checklist or instruction manual, the first piece of the puzzle would be Genesis 1:14. The second piece could potentially be Enoch, the luminary section of Enoch, explaining how those timepieces work. What cycles are the years, what cycles are the months, and so yes, and so when I view Enoch, it's with an open mind. I'm still testing it. I'm very willing to toss it away if diligent study and testing shows that things are just not true. But so far I think there's the potential that things could be true, and if it's not being seen by many, it might just be because of either translational issues. We need to verify the accuracy and consistency of the translation of Enoch, or it's observational issues and not understanding things from the view of the Creator. And it's kind of like just being so familiar with modern sciences and what we learned in school. But I mean, I think there is an explanation and there's a reason. I mean, even if you just step away and you look at what we have now, that the solar cycle is 365.25, there is a reason why that solar cycle is 365.25, and I'm fairly certain there is a beautiful, perfect mathematical reason. And even if you blow Enoch away, you're still left with that. And like, have you ever wondered why the Creator would design the year so that it's 365.25? There's a reason, and I'm not going to get into it now, but It briefly, I think it has to do with the duration of a sign day, and I recommend checking out my video, How Many Hours Are in a Sabbath Day, and that kind of discusses why there might be and Enoch does talk about it. So that just hopefully will bring some clarity on Enoch and my position on Enoch. I do not think Enoch is Zadok. I think Zadok calendars and the Dead Sea Scroll calendars are very different from Enoch. Not that Enoch is a calendar, but I mean the main difference, because the calendars, the Zadok stuff, in addition to presenting calendars, they also talk about how the year should function and months should function a little bit, but definitely the year. And the big thing in the Zadok and Dead Sea Scroll calendars is they say the year must begin on a Wednesday, and Enoch does not say this that I have been able to see, and I've like I said, maybe there's translational things going on, but no one has ever been able to show me that Enoch says that anything about the day beginning on a specific day of the week. Enoch says that the first day of the year is the first day of spring. The day following the luminary signs. The luminary signs herald the end of the season and the end of the year, and the next day is the season of spring. So, for people who might be new to my channel, and maybe you've heard about Enoch calendars, and you've even disproven them, I just want to point out, like I said, there are so many different calendars these days, and there are calendars that are like claiming Enoch and have almost nothing to do with Enoch, and are opposed to Enoch. So don't, I would encourage you, I'm not getting on a soapbox for Enoch. Like I said, I'm willing that Enoch may be shown to be wrong, and, we'll just move on with Genesis 1:14 looking for the signs. But so far, I still think there is potential, and like I said, it's translational, and it's a lot of observational work to verify what he was talking about, and you got to think of things from the eyes of the Creator. But you can verify things. We can verify the things that are talked about in Enoch. Enoch says the sun and the moon are roughly the same size when viewed from the earth, and that's true. When you look up there, they are about the same size, the same circumference. Another thing is Enoch says the moon and the sun is 7 times brighter than the moon, and when you Google that and you look at modern science, it's true. The sun is about 7 times brighter than the moon. So there are facts in Enoch that are presented that we can easily fact check. And so a number of them have been fact-checked already that I just mentioned, but then there are others. The obvious one is the 364 that people hear all the time about, but again, I recommend checking out, it was How Many Hours Are in a Sabbath Day, or the leap year video that I did right around the same time as that video. Enoch talks about 364 stations, not 300, he does say days as well, but at another place he says 364 stations of the sun. And, I just, first of all, would like to verify the accuracy and consistency that these terms were not just interchanged, and the other account should have also said stations, because the sun is moving from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn over the course of a year, giving us seasons. That's the apparent movement. And what Enoch is saying is as it shifts a little bit each day, there are 364 stations that it shifts from in that north-south cycling of the sun between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And so there are 364 positions, and I was just recently looking into some of the Mayan pyramids, and there are some interesting things even with that. For example, the one, if any of you have, I forget what the name of it is, I don't speak Spanish, but Maybe I'll try and include a link for it in the description below. But there is, the ancient calendars and the pyramid sundial of the Mayans. I think it has something to do like the return of the sun serpent or something. But there's a phenomenon. It's kind of like the pyramids of Egypt, but there's a phenomenon that the Mayans set up one of their pyramids to the shadow pattern occurs on one of their pyramids on the equinox. The point was, I want to look more into that, but that pyramid was built specifically, and at one point I remember hearing someone mention there were 91 steps up to the top of that pyramid, and I will just bet that if no one else has picked up on this yet, I will just bet that those 91 steps are the 91 steps of the seasons. And Enoch talks about 30-day months, and then at the end of a 30-day month there is a seasonal day where you get these special luminary signs, and that's part of the reason why I think there's a difference between the 364 days and the 365.25. Enoch says that the luminaries render extra service on these 4 seasonal days. But the point is, I'll bet that Mayan pyramid, the shadow, the same way they set it up so that there's a shadow on the day of the equinox, I bet they set it up so that the shadow is crossing a different step each day so they can track the seasons. I'll just bet. I'll be curious to look into that. But anyway, so to summarize all that, Enoch, there's no such thing as an Enoch calendar. Enoch only presents information about the movements of the luminaries, which can, through diligent truth-seeking efforts, be proven out to be true or false. And it is diligent, and you can't just take a quick look and walk away. I do think it's deep, and I've been looking into this for like 2 or 3 years now, and I still haven't tapped into the translational stuff yet. I mean, I've tried here and there, but I got really busy with other things, but I'll be getting back into that soon. And I was working to track down the original transcripts or manuscripts or scrolls or source texts that are available for Enoch to, again, pull those into another project I have called the Interactive Translation Project, and again, try and verify the consistency, the accuracy and consistency of the translation of Enoch, but I'll be getting that too. But so I'm not like in love or obsessed or said, people, you need to look at Enoch, you'll never know anything about the creator signs without Enoch. I think Genesis 1:14 is enough to give you a good start, and if you were a caveman coming out of a cave and knew nothing about time, and you didn't have a book like Enoch that told you how the timepieces worked, I think you'd figure out in a year or two that there's this cycle happening. It's a year cycle happening around you, and it's clearly defined by the 4 seasons, and you don't have to use a judgment call to determine when the year should start. Like, the year is sundered by 4 distinct luminary sign days, and so we don't need to be making judgment calls. We don't need to be adding calculations to make the calendar begin on a specific day of the week. We just need to watch for the signs. And certainly Genesis 1:14 says those luminaries were for the concept of a year. So if you get nothing else, you know that those luminaries should be telling you when the year is. And like I said, spring, summer, winter, fall, winter. It's a yearly cycle. If you knew nothing about time, that's what you'd see. And anyone, even a caveman, would know that's the cycle. That is the year cycle, and we don't need to mess with it. This is what Enoch talks about, and there are several different calendar understandings that are getting close to this. And so, but yes, so I'm not force-feeding Enoch to anyone, but I am, so you know, I mean, if you're new to my channel, or you've seen a lot of the videos on my channel, you know I have looked into Enoch and perhaps have been very passionate about Enoch in the past. And so I'm still looking into Enoch. There's a lot of truth-seeking to do, and I'm just testing it, and I'm having an open mind, open to seeing it all work out someday, or open to seeing it not work out, and just tossing it away. But so far, I'm not yet convinced that's the case. I think Enoch talks about the year beginning on the first day of spring, and he explains different mechanics of the luminaries that can potentially match the 365.25-ish day cycle that we're all familiar with. So just wanted to say that, because I know there will be different people sometimes who are very much against, who have done their own studies and are against Enoch, and I just want to encourage you, there are so many different calendars out there, and calendars that claim to be Enoch that are not Enoch, and I would encourage just to have an open mind, but the important thing is we need to figure out what those heavenly luminaries are actually doing, and so that's really been the focus of my channel for a long time now, is to try and figure out what the movements of the heavenly luminaries are, trying to confirm these seasonal days and the special signs that we see from the sun, moon, and stars. And if you haven't checked it out, I do recommend you check out my December solstice, the shortest day of the year for North America this past year. Was the very first time I think I actually was able to confirm a seasonal day pretty clearly. If you watch all previous sundial videos that I've made, you'll always hear me say, this was too close, and I don't feel warm and fuzzy about this, but this was the first time I think I was able to get a seasonal day pretty clearly. I wasn't splitting hairs with a small sundial. I had a 200-foot tall sundial, and the movement from day to day was substantial, a foot or two, so I could clearly see when the sun returned. And so that's important, and it brings in a whole lot more to this discussion, should the seasons be equal? Enoch talks about equal seasons. I mean, a lot of these other calendars assume equal seasons, but whether or not you knew it, modern science claims the seasons are not equal, and that just might be because of the way they're defining the equinox events, the sun touching the celestial equator rather than being bisected by the celestial equator. I've done videos on the seasonal duration, how long is a season, are the seasons equal, and I've looked at 10 years of data on timeanddate.com, and I've really done another video on how timeanddate.com calculate their spring equinox, and I was able to determine from their data that the half years are equal. So the half seasonal years are equal from solstice to solstice, but it's because of the way they define the equinox that makes everything unequal. So anyway, Enoch Calendar, no such thing. Enoch is just potentially the luminary section, potentially has some information about the movements of the luminaries that can potentially help us to understand what's going on up there, but maybe not necessary. But where I'm at right now is I'm just testing that out still. So that's it for now. Shalom, and may Abba bless you to continually seek out His truth and love with a pure heart.